Hey, Shepherd family, this is Pastor Scott Seidler with Pastor John Carolus, and we are here doing a very special Valley Chat little podcast because we want to reflect the fact that we here at Shepherd have a very focused mission, and that is to connect every person in every season with the life Jesus promises. And we have a lot of seasonality to our shepherd life together. And when we have that kind of seasonality with people coming in and leaving, going, and whatnot, we want to make sure that when people are here in our shepherd's care, we are responsive to who they are, what they bring, what they need. John, talk a little bit about your experience here at Shepherd with that seasonality, especially the analog nature of our Shepherd family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a powerful part of the church that we call home. In that 40% of our worshiping population is not here for a significant part of the year. But that doesn't mean that they don't remain a significant part of our family.
Right.
And so over the last 5.5 years of work at Shepherd, I've come to appreciate more fully. My first glimpse of it was interning at a church in South Florida where there was some snowbirding activity going on. But at St. Paul and Boca Raton, a lot of the majority were all there full time. Whereas here in Scottsdale, it seems to be much more of an impact on those seasonal comings and goings.
Right.
But that being said, it still is amazing to see how the community of our snowbirds and the community of our full-time residents connect with one another during those winter months. People look forward to the time that they're going to be spending their afternoons together. Their community groups within the condos that they share. Just across the street from our Mountain View campus here, there's a community of full-time residents and snowbirds that love to walk over when the weather's nice enough, just across the street to worship with us here and sit together in the seats here at Mountain View. And it's such a powerful testimony to the way that God works through His people.
And you know, the congregation to congregation member side of that connection is matched and mirrored by what we as a church and ministry staff seek to do. Because as pastors, we don't just want to be figureheads that are up at the front of the room on a Sunday morning. We don't want to just be kind of doing our things ministry-wise at a distance. But we really take it as a priority to connect with our winter guests. And I know that, you know, our winter guests, they will often come back and say things like, when we are here during the winter, it is just such a refreshing thing to find a healthy church, a church that is happy, worship that is excellent, a community that is warm and hospitable. And most of all, they just love the fact that as soon as they get here, our general response is, oh my gosh, you're back. Let's grab breakfast, lunch, or coffee. That kind of pastoral as well as congregational connection really, really matters. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted, during this summer hot season, to let our winter guests know that we still think about you. And frankly, if I'm honest and I'm having a sinful confessional moment, we covet the cooler weather we know you are enjoying. We covet, can I say that again, the green grass that you are walking barefoot in. We covet the rain, which apparently in the Midwest has really been giving it to you. We're not necessarily hot on all of those, inches of rain, but we'd certainly love some more. And so we wanted to start with a 5-segment series for our winter guests about things we miss when our winter guests are missing. And so for this first one, we want to get to geographical variety. And so, John, our Christian faith has a geography to it. Talk a little bit about what we just celebrated a few weeks ago, which is the geography of Pentecost.
Yeah, of course. And even before Pentecost, if I can go a little bit further.
Feel free.
Jesus calls his disciples from the Galilean region, but not all of them were from the exact same neighborhood. And so starting off there, and then as you track Jesus' ministry through the Gospels, people are coming together from these regions that were very culturally opposed to one another at different times, and walks of life that were very different. And he's bringing different people together under the common confession of Jesus as Lord and Jesus as our teacher. And at Pentecost, we got to see like the marquee display of how God brings together people from all across the world under his banner of that same confession, that Jesus is the one who makes us right with God. So there were many people in Jerusalem who were celebrating the Passover, and they were from areas of all over the Roman Empire. They were from the northern parts of the Mediterranean. They were from North Africa. They were from areas further east into Saudi Arabia and present-day Iran and Iraq, and they were there together to celebrate the Passover. And when Peter got up and started speaking the revelation of the Holy Spirit to them, that Jesus was the Messiah they were waiting for, not only were they cut to the heart by his testimony, but they were brought together and sort of bound at the heart when they confessed Jesus as Lord and were baptized under his name. Really is a powerful picture of the standard that we should continue to pursue, which is that the church is meant to be made up of people from different places, people with different ways of thinking, commonly sharing together the belief that we have that Jesus is our Lord, Jesus is our master, Jesus is our teacher, and he is the key for us to living the life that God designed each of us to live. He is the promises of God made real for us that we are striving to connect every person in every season to, even the people who don't season here during the summer season in Scottsdale, which is a tough season.
Which is a tough season. And it reminds me too, Pentecost matches the vision of Revelation. Revelation is all the nations, tribes, languages, all gathered at the throne of the Lamb. There is this vision of shared experience, but within the context of different geography at the end. And so, in God's Word, geographical awareness is really something that is an expectation for the Christian church. In other words, like I'm thinking right now of the World Cup. I mean, right?
Love the World Cup. I'm glad you brought that up.
We have to. And I understand that in Boston right now, like Scottish and Irish teams are there, and it is just absolutely crazy how much fun Boston is having, because they're like, man, these Scottish and Irish folks, they're really quite cool. And the Scottish and Irish folks are saying, man, this country is really a very hospitable place. For as partisan as we experience it as Americans, people are saying, man, you get free refills on Coca-Cola at Taco Bell? I mean, who would think that? And everybody's so friendly over here and warm and inviting. Geographic diversity or variety is something that is a critical piece of human experience that God has designed. And my point in just saying this, just to kind of wrap up this section, is that from Pentecost to Revelation, even before, there's this richness that the church should enjoy. And so we just want to say to our winter guests, when you bring your unique geography to this Scottsdale community, you make us a better expression of God's intention of ministry. And we miss you when you're not here. And so, for the sake of fun, John and I want to have a back and forth about the 3 geographical locations that we most miss when summer arrives here in Arizona. And so I'll go first. I am from outside Chicago, and
yes,
so I am.
You are.
And we love the Cubs, the Bulls, the Sox, the Hawks, and the Bears, which are going to be soon the Hammond, Indiana Bears, which is a thing. So sorry to trigger.
Are you doing okay with that?
I don't really like the Bears. I like the Packers, but it's neither here nor there. But Chicago, now, like all the winter guests from Chicago just absolutely dialed out on that Packers statement. Yeah. But here's the deal. I love winter guests who come and visit us and express in clipped Chicago accent things like, "Oh, you can't not love a good Polish sausage." I mean, there is just a language that as soon as I hear it, and I think of Hank and Julianne, when they come from Chicago and we meet over at First Watch, it is just a delightful thing to hear their voices geographically represent a place that raised me and I still love to call my home. What about you, John? What's one geographical place out of 3 that we're going to get to that you really miss?
Yes. Well, I would just first of all like to say I'm surprised that it's First Watch and not Portillo's, but
alas,
that's not really a breakfast place.
Fair enough,
I guess. No, but we have a lot of people who, like me, have ties to small town Wisconsin, And so there's something about us, those people, those people that is kind of an unspoken tie. I don't know if it's the frugality that drives a lot of our cultural kind of assumptions. I don't know if it's the warmth that just exudes from rural people,
like a gooey cheese curd,
which is there. Yeah, and it's also the love for dairy products that is an important piece. So Chicago has Portillo's, we've got Culver's, and it couldn't be better. It's just like spending some time with my friends who are still back home, and so when we get together, when we worship together, when we chat together, when we enjoy cheese curds together, it's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's really cool when, like, John is typically over on the Mountain View campus. When someone from the Shea campus comes and learns over on our Shea campus ministry that we've got a Wisconsinite over on the other side, they could be from the complete opposite side of the state, and yet there's all of a sudden this connection. I love that. I love that. My second place is Canada.
Yep.
Because you can never have enough Canada. Or can you? So I think of Lee, I think of, Cheryl, who's really kind of now full-time here, but I think of Lee especially from Saskatchewan, and just delightful. Whenever I get together with Lee, one of the things I love about Canada is that they are so soft-spoken that Lee speaks at like this almost whisper level, and I'm leaning in, and I'm like, can you speak up? And it's just delightful, and the unique nature of, and yeah, it's just kind of great. And so I love when Canada gets here. Canada normally gets here around the end of November. They're the first ones because it gets cold there first. When Canada arrives, I always get a little pitter-patter in my heart because I know the winter guests are going to start really flooding in, and it's just delightful. John, what's your second?
My second is any large town, which is kind of a abstract description, but any large town in the Midwest. So we're talking about Omaha, Indianapolis, Milwaukee, even St. Louis, I'd go so far as to say.
Fair.
Bloomington Normal. The Twin Cities maybe is a little bit too large, but those kinds of areas where people have connections into vibrant churches and are deeply involved in those places, and then they come back and they bring a lot of the joy of their summer activities in those places back here to Shepherd, and we're able to talk about the similar programming that's going on and the different programming that's going on, and it's sort of bring the energy from having a renewed season there now into what turns into our renewed season of energy in our winter months, kind of a reversal of the Midwestern calendar where things calm down up there when the snowpack comes in, and spring to life, and then get going in the summer. We're the opposite rotation, so then when they come down, it energizes me. It makes me excited.
And all their sports teams.
Which seem to be on a tear right now.
My third and last one would be, I was born in the sticks of Northern Illinois Prairie, so adjacent to Chicago. My whole family from Chicago, but I was born next to a creek, and we walked corn and beans and detasseled corn, walked beans, and so anytime someone comes from a deeply rural place, and now I'm thinking of like upper Minnesota, North Dakota farmers, it is just like there is an unspoken culture to growing up rural. There's a pace of play and a lack of an assuming kind of character, just good, salt of the earth people. And so I think of Dwayne and Carol, I think of Bud and Clelly. I mean, just great folks that have made Shepherd their home from deeply rural places. And we are, we're the fourth largest metroplex in the nation, whatever that is. And so coming here, man, that takes a lot of chutzpah, so to speak, to come into a deeply urban, suburban area from a deeply rural part. But they manage it with class and with courage, and it's good to have them here.
Yeah, something special happens when all these diverse perspectives are brought together into a major urban metroplex. My number 3 is maybe not snowbirds so much, and no disrespect to the snowbirds toward whom we're aiming, but I love the people who have come from California, different parts of California, the Pacific Northwest, kind of the West Coasters who have made their home here in Scottsdale, but bring some of that a little bit more easygoing culture, a little bit more even outdoorsy, active kind of culture, and they, a lot of the people I'm thinking of, Chuck and Kathy, or Bay Area, the Marks, they've come in and we get to sort of coexist in this deeply Midwestern influence, deeply West Coast influenced, and then the Sonoran culture itself, kind of being brought together. And it's a really unique mix. It's a different thing. Whereas I would say in the church culture I grew up in, there was much more predictability year over year, season to season. And now we have, because of the kind of the transient nature of our community, people coming and going. You don't know what the next 12 months is going to be like, and you can only build so much expectation off the last 12 months, and that makes it so much fun.
You catch up on all the stories. It's like what's going on in your life, and not only what's going on in your life personally, but what's going on in your world geographically. It's just a very cool thing. Well, here's the deal. So we've had some fun around geography. In the next segment, and I know that 5 segments on winter guests may seem like, wow, can we actually do this? Yes, we can.
Is it enough? Is 5 enough?
Actually, did we say it was going to be 4? I think we went back to 4 because we were like 5 was a little bit long in the tooth. But the larger point is the next time, in our next segment, we're not going to talk about geographic variety. We're going to talk about church variety, because everyone that comes as a winter guest not only brings their geography, but they bring their church experience. And that informs a lot of what we do, particularly as pastors, providing context, maybe some respite from negative church experiences that may be happening at home, or overhearing what is really great going on in their home congregation and saying, how can we replicate that here at Shepherd? So tune in again. We're going to try to do this over the course of the next 4 or 5 weeks. And if you're part of our Shepherd family that does not depart for the summer, we want to say thank you for being a hospitable place where these winter guests, when they come, say, wow, I have found my second home here in Scottsdale. And it's not the condo or house that they own or rent. It's rather this Shepherd family that receives them so warmly and says, we are glad that you're here when you're with us, and we miss you when you're missing. So thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll catch you again in episode 2.